Hi there, Phil again. This is tip 8.1, tools for cultivation. Now, I'm having to film away from home today because I've got tradespeople there drilling and banging away, so I'm just down the road at a friend's place and I notice there's background noise here, so I do apologise if this gets into the microphone. So the tools for cultivating, I think you actually need very few. So I'm going to show you the basic range that you should think about having in your garden, why you should select them and how you would best use them. And I'll also cover some of the others which you might like to think about or you might perhaps borrow at times. And I have got a range of tools here, some of which are mine and some of which I've actually borrowed for the purposes of illustration today. Now you certainly will always need some cultivating tools, even if you're doing a no-dig garden or one that is fully mulched, because you will always do some planting or you will do some weeding or such like. So I'm going to just run through the range of criteria that you would use for choosing your tools, and then I'll run through the range, first long-handled and then short-handled ones, and hopefully you'll get some value out of it. Firstly, when you're choosing tools, you should think about efficiency. If you have a well-designed garden with convenient gaps between plants for management, larger tools with long handles will allow cultivation to be done quickly and effectively. However, of course, they are heavier to use. Secondly, safety. One of the most significant injuries with gardeners is damage to backs. Tools that allow you to keep your back straight can be beneficial over time. In particular, some tools are designed to be ergonomically friendly. These can be more expensive initially, however they can work out cheaper in the long term. Long-handled tools also reduce the risk of being poked in the eye by stakes or twigs. Finally, kind to plants. Cultivation can be very damaging to plants, particularly to roots and the lower stem. A torpedo hoe is particularly hazardous to the base of plants unless the user is skilled. A Niwashi can be a safer option as the weeds can be hooked away. So the long-handled tools to consider are, firstly, a spade. A spade is used for planting perennials, shrubs and trees. It is also the most useful tool if you need to dig plants up for removal or division. Secondly, shovel. A round-headed shovel can be very useful for planting trees and shrubs, and also if you need to dig a larger hole. It can also be very useful for moving large quantities of soil or bulk materials such as mulch. I actually have two shovels. A square mouth shovel such as this is very useful for lifting materials from flat surfaces, particularly from paving. Next, a garden fork. A fork is a very effective way of digging a vegetable garden for planting. As you fork the soil over, you can break the clods up with the tines of the fork. Work backwards as you fork the garden to avoid walking on newly cultivated ground. Next, a rake. Rake can be very useful for levelling off soil or breaking up soil into a finer tilth. It is also useful for excavating a shallow furrow for sowing a row of vegetables. Although I do have a leaf rake, I often do use my rake for removing leaves and such like. A word of warning with your rake: don't leave it lying on the ground with the tines upward. If you walk on it, it may give you a nasty whack on the face. Instead, lean it against a wall or other vertical surface with the tines facing upwards. This is also better for the tool itself. Next, a hoe. A garden hoe is ideal for efficiently removing annual weeds from gardens of widely spaced plants or between crop rows. For maximum efficiency without disrupting value plants, weeds should be sliced off at ground level. Annual weeds won't regrow from their roots. A torpedo hoe is the most effective form of hoe. However, the sharp edges can damage crop plants if not used carefully. A Dutch hoe is actually safer. We call this a Dutch hoe, where it's got the two tines on the side and then the hoe in the middle. Sorry, this one that I borrowed is a very old one. This is actually safer to use than the sharp-edged torpedo hoe. A Niwashi, which I'm going to discuss below, is available with a long handle. I also have a cut-down hoe. So this was a torpedo hoe that I cut the sides off with an angle grinder, and this made it quite a lot narrower, and I use this for hoeing between rows that are closely spaced, such as onions. As you can see, a hoe is a very efficient way of quickly moving down a row, removing the plants, and you can always tidy up close to the plants afterwards. Grubber. This is a little more out of the ordinary. Here is a standard grubber, useful for chipping out odd weeds. I also have a much heavier grubber, which I show here, which I also use for removing perennial plants or shrubs. It can be a very, very effective way of quickly removing quite large plants, although it is quite hard work. Next, I'll discuss a range of short handle tools, as I'm showing here. Firstly, hand trowel. This is ideal for transplanting small plants, such as vegetables and bedding plants or annuals. Planting can be done in 3 quick steps. Push the trowel vertically into the soil with a concave side facing towards you. Pull the trowel back towards yourself. Put the root ball in the hole and press the soil back over the roots using the back of the trowel. Hand fork. This is mainly used for removing weeds from closely spaced plants. For perennial weeds with rhizomes, that is underground creeping stems or bulbs in the ground, hold the top of the plant and gently loosen the underground parts with the hand fork until the whole plant comes away easily, rather than breaking off as they would simply regrow. Niwashi. This is used mainly for removing annual weeds among closely spaced plants, although the tip can be used to remove the underground parts of perennial weeds. It can also be used for planting. Used correctly, the Niwashi allows for weed removal without disrupting valued plants. So that's my full range of tools. I hope you find this useful. So just a reminder to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so, and also like this tip so that you can be sure to see the tips as they're becoming available. I've got them scheduled for a weekly basis. And also, of course, thank you very much for watching this through to the end.